Christians and my sister here. So she asked the question, can I expound on man not having free will? So let me establish this right off the bat. There is a sense in which man has a free will, but primarily man does not have a free will. Now let me explain what I mean. So free will is contextual. There's a context to free will. But in reality, there is no real true free will at all in any context, if you look at it this way. Absolute free will of man would mean that man would be completely and thoroughly indifferent to everything and anything. In other words, good or bad, man is indifferent and he can choose that which is good and he can choose that which is bad at any given time and regardless of setting or context. And there is no such animal as a person who is truly indifferent to anything, meaning that to be indifferent to everything and anything means that man has no biases. He has no prejudices. There is nothing that gives him a bent to one particular way of thinking, believing, feeling, choosing, etc. There is no such thing as a person who can choose to do something that goes contrary to a particular set of biases or prejudices in his life. Now, that being said, when I say that a person has no free will, what I am saying is this, that because of man's bondage to sin, man's will being in bondage to sin, as a result of the sinful nature that he was born with, he is therefore not able to choose that which is righteous and holy. A man cannot choose Christ, contrary to what people like to say. Men do not choose Christ unless there is a first cause work by God on the part of the man first. So when a person chooses Christ, it's because there is when a man chooses Christ for salvation, chooses to come to God in faith, this has to do with the fact that God himself must perform a work in the heart of a man, giving him a new heart after replacing the old heart. Therefore, the new heart that is given to man, that is the heart that then chooses Christ. And so when men talk about they have a free will, they are talking about something completely different than what they actually are addressing. Let me put it this way. If a person is imprisoned for crimes that they committed against breaking the law, man goes to jail. He gets assigned a jail cell and he's inside a particular prison. So inside the cell that they're in, you can say that the person is free, but only within the confines of their cell. So they're free to move around all they want within the confines of their cell. Man's cell is his sinful nature. So he is free to roam freely within the confines of his sinful nature, which means that his biases and his prejudices will be restricted to his sinful nature. If you take that same man who's in a prison cell, when he's let out of his cell to go eat or to go to the yard of a prison, then he becomes free to roam around freely within the confines of the yard or the chow hall, so to speak. But he is not free to go make phone calls. He is not free to go outside to the parking lot. He is not free to go within the quarters of the guards. So he is only free to make choices within the confines of the prison yard. No man can choose to do godly things or to choose even God himself because of his sinful nature, which prohibits him from being able to choose the things that pertain to godliness, righteousness, and holiness. It cannot be done. And the only way that can be done is after a first cause work that is done on the soul, on the sinner, that is done on them by God himself. Much the same way that a person who is righteous and holy, who has been born again, has now a new nature, having shed the sinful nature. The sinful nature is gone for the believer. They no longer have it. And because they now have inherited the righteousness of Christ, which comes by faith, they can no longer sin against God. It is impossible. No matter what a true Christian does, they cannot sin against God after having been brought to faith. It is an absolute impossibility because they have obtained the righteousness of Christ, which was imputed to their account when they came to him in faith, faith which came to them by the grace of God. God gave them grace, and the grace gave them faith, and the faith is a gift from God. And without God giving that gift, it is impossible for men to choose that which is righteous and holy, or from among righteous and holy choices. But one thing's for sure is that when a Christian comes to faith, when a Christian is born again from above, not from themselves, not from within themselves, they are born from God from above, which means that he is the first cause of their salvation. Just like nobody who's born had any say as to when they would be born, how they would be born, what gender they would be born, and what parents they would have. What choice did they have? It is the same way with Christians. We had no say in being born again. We had no say in which the Spirit would affect us and bring us to faith in Christ. We had zero to say about that. But after having been born again from above and we grow up in the faith, the choices that we make are always righteous and holy, and therefore we can never choose to disassociate ourselves from God, from Christ. Think of Satan and the demon angels. There is no possible way that you can say that they have a free will. All they do is evil, and all they will ever do is choose freely from the evil deeds they will do. Same way with righteous angels. Righteous angels, the angels that kept their first estate and did not fall, they can never do evil. They can never do evil forever. They are fixed. Demons will always be demons. They can never change. They will always choose freely the wickedness that they will do, but they will never choose to be righteous angels again. Righteous angels can never choose to be wicked. It's an impossibility. They are locked in with their current natures when it comes to the moral responsibility and moral agency. So men are exactly the same. Exactly. Once you become a Christian, if you have been born again truly, you can never not be a Christian. And a person who is never born again, who is reprobate, can never become a Christian. There are God's elect, chosen people that the Father gave to the Son to believe. Read John 6:37. All those who are saved were given by the Father to the Son to redeem. And those whom the Father did not give to the Son can never choose Christ. Be provoked and be persuaded.